You ever see what happens when people stop taking out the trash? Yeah, exactly. Getting healthy is the best decision that you could ever make. And it's a lot easier than you think. But there's so many people pushing cheat codes that it's impossible to try them all. But you try them anyways. And that's why you get stuck. In this video, I'm walking you through the simplest path to change your life in the next 6 months. No cheat codes required. Because you're going to have everything that you need to know to get down to your ideal body weight, to be 251% stronger than you are now, to be able to move like a cat, to feel like you're 18 again. And it doesn't really take nearly as much effort as most people pretend it does. I know all this because I've been there. I've tried every fitness routine, and I've learned that 99% of it is junk. I've learned everything through trial and error. I've made all the mistakes so you don't have to. And this is what I figured out. The 3 crucial components that will get you there. The third one is the most important, so stick around. Now, most people are going to start out thinking that they need to get down to a healthy body weight. Step on the scale, read a number, go to some random website that tells them how many calories they need to be eating, or go to YouTube to figure out what top 3 exercises burn belly fat. The problem is they're starting in the wrong place. I'll tell you right now, there's really no such thing as a healthy weight. There's really no such thing as an unhealthy weight. Not really. And you're probably sitting there either relieved or outraged. But hear me out. Because body weight is pretty much an irrelevant number, mostly. But if people want to know how healthy they are, they usually just step on a scale. If they want to know if they've lost weight or gained weight, they step on a scale. And it makes sense because it's easy. But the easiest way to measure something isn't always the most accurate or the most useful. What you really want to know is not necessarily how much you weigh, but how much of that weight is body fat, especially in relation to everything else. And this is known as body composition, and it's a much more accurate representation of your overall health than the number on a scale. Of course, sometimes it's helpful to have that number, but it's really only part of a more complicated, complex calculation. So I don't even like to start there. A better and simpler measure to start out with, especially if you're packing on a few pounds, is the waist to height ratio. Once you get over 20 years old, you pretty much stop growing vertically. So your height is a constant that's easy to use. On the other hand, your waist circumference is variable. And so in my opinion, which is the correct opinion by the way, using the waist to height ratio is a much better indicator of your health than the number on a scale. All you got to do is measure your waist circumference and divide it by your height. In inches, centimeters, whatever you use, just keep it consistent between both measurements. And you divide your waist by your height and try to get that number lower than 0.5. If you're lower than 0.5, you're doing great. If you're above 0.5, well, you got some work to do. So what is the best way to get to that number? Well, that's where we get into the important topics of this video. The first of these topics is nutrition. It's what you eat. You gotta fuel yourself the right way. Food isn't entertainment, it's fuel. It's there to provide your body with everything it needs. That's why it's called nutrition. Nutrients, nourishment. That's what it's all about. But the problem is that most foods today that most people eat don't have near the nutrients that most people need. And when you don't get the nutrients that you need, you're going to stay hungry until you do. So you got to get the nutrients that you need, starting with protein. You probably don't get enough protein. The word itself comes from a Greek word that means of primary importance. So that's all you need to know right there. Get your protein. What you see on the nutritional labels and in the US guidelines is a bare minimum. It's just a bare minimum, enough to keep you alive. But you probably need at least twice that amount. You've heard of a low carb diet, you've heard of a low fat diet, but most people are on a low protein diet and they're not even aware of it. You got to hit at least 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight per day in order to be sustainable. You do that, watch your hunger level subside. Second thing is get your nutrients. Eat food that grows with the vitamins and minerals already in it, not where the vitamins and minerals are added to it. Most of the processed foods that people eat are going to be missing this stuff. And some of it's going to be enriched with synthetic versions of whatever vitamin mineral in order to meet some arbitrary number that is made up that they decided was a good amount for you. No. But I guarantee you they weren't asking how much magnesium any particular food had in it 100 years ago, because they didn't even know they needed magnesium. So why would they ask about it? They were getting what they needed because they were eating real food grown in rich and fertile soil, or they were eating food that ate food that was grown in rich and fertile soil. So the first thing you do is you substitute junk food for protein and real food. Once you do this long enough, you'll realize that you don't even have any cravings anymore. And real food actually tastes better than junk food anyways. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lecture you about why you should never have junk food ever again in your life, because I'd be a hypocrite, because I eat crap from time to time, and I'll admit it. And honestly, I end up regretting it anyways. But I'm also human, and I'm willing to admit my mistakes when I make them, even though I know I'm probably going to end up doing it again in the future. But I keep it to a minimum because I know what happens when I don't. So there's that. The thing is, you eat right and you'll naturally eat less. And you eat less with enough protein and enough nutrition, you'll get your waist to height ratio under 0.5 before you know it. And then you'll get the motivation to just keep going. And as long as you keep the junk food at a minimum, you'll be good to go. Second thing is, you gotta move more. And I don't mean exercising an hour a day, 3 times a week. That's not what I'm saying. But that's also the problem. It's because most people feel like you need to carve out an entire hour every single day to do a workout. And it's BS. Just getting started, there's no way you're gonna make it for an entire hour. It's just not gonna happen. Just getting started, give me 10 push-ups. That's it. Can't do 10 push-ups at a time? Then give me 1 push-up every hour for 10 hours. Still can't do a push-up? Do a push-up on your knees or on the wall. Just do something. Work your way up to 10. Eventually, you'll do 100. Sound impossible? Maybe it is for you right now, but if you got up to where you could do 10 push-ups at a time, do 10 push-ups every hour for 10 hours, and congratulations, you got 100 push-ups in one day. 10 push-ups should take you 15 seconds. Now tell me you don't have time to work out. And go for a walk every chance you get. It all adds up. People think that you burn a lot of calories during an hour of exercise. I mean, jogging for a mile only burns 100 calories on average, but just moving more during the day burns a lot more than that. So the more you move, the more calories you burn. It all adds up. But moving more doesn't trigger the hunger hormones the same way intense exercise does. And if you're not hungry, you're less likely to eat and undo all the calorie burning you just did during the exercise. So if you're just starting out, start slow. Do a few push-ups every hour, do what you can do, go for a walk, get the reps in, and watch it happen for you. Third, to put it all together, you gotta get some sleep. You gotta get some sleep, man. Stop staying up late night, watching Netflix, scrolling your socials, or even working. You gotta draw the line somewhere, and draw it about an hour before it's time to go to bed. We live in an era where sleep deprivation is worn like a badge of honor. Some people talk about it proudly. I think some people just want some pity. But even if you're staying up late because you think you're more productive that way, you're just fooling yourself. That's not how it works. Because what you save in time, you're gonna lose twice as much as that in energy. It's the inverse square law of sleep, which is mathematically proven, by the way. There are so many things that happen while you sleep that have a direct impact on your health, your nutrition, your ability to move more. There's a lot going on. But to long story short, the whole process, less sleep means less energy. Less energy means your body wants more energy. You hate your life, you get hungry, so you want to eat more. But the problem is you don't have the energy to exercise the executive function of your brain, the prefrontal cortex of your brain, because it takes a lot of energy to use it. And what that means is that you don't have any willpower, none, because you don't have the energy to think. But your body needs the energy. And the fastest way to get energy into your body is to dope it up with some sugar and probably some caffeine. But your executive function literally cannot talk your stomach out of taking the problem into its own hands to solve it. So nom 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 it is. Oh, and by the way, you don't have the energy to get your ass up and move around. So that's a double hit. More calories in, less calories out. You go right into fat storage mode. And your blood sugar is riding high on the world's biggest, baddest roller coaster. Your hormones get all out of whack, which makes it difficult to get a good night's sleep because hormones and stuff. Maybe you can relate. But on top of that, sleep is the time that your body clears out all the waste products. It's when your own personal night shift janitorial crew comes in and cleans house. You ever see what happens when people stop taking out the trash? Yeah, exactly. That's what's happening inside your body when you don't get enough sleep. You feel like trash because essentially you're made up of trash. And some people are walking around like biological hoarders in need of an intervention, all because they couldn't turn off their Netflix. Thank you, Mr. Hastings. It's silent, it's undiagnosed, and all you really have to do is get a good night's sleep. How though? Well, it all starts with your nutrition and your exercise. You eat right, you get your nutrition down, you get your joints loosened up, you get your muscles stronger, and sleep to support the cause. Because they all support each other. Fix one and the others come along for the ride. But sleep is the most important. But you'll fix your sleep by fixing the other two. Get your nutrition dialed in, move more, and get a good night's sleep. Fix these 3 things and come back 6 months from now and let me know how you're doing.